There are some assumptions that we need to consider about reflective practice. The first assumption, that reflection takes place in the classroom and is conducted by the teacher and for the teacher. Therefore, such reflection, such a process is contextualized and very private to the individual teacher. The second assumption, that teachers reflect and act on what they observe. I'll repeat that. Teachers reflect and act on what they observe. This means that reflective practice is both a process of research and action. And the third assumption, people like Chemist and McTaggart and Vygotsky say that reflective practice requires dialogue for true understanding. And this places reflective practice within the social constructivist model of learning. Consequently, such a social constructivist model of learning suggests that reflective practice is a process of thinking which is mediated by language, or in other words, potentially influenced by the language that we use to describe our understanding. And potentially, our understanding can be jointly constructed through dialogue with others, colleagues in schools, for example. And also that, therefore, knowledge is socially derived and potentially collaborative. So, reflective practice is therefore about becoming aware of our own assumptions and how these assumptions govern what we do in the classroom, govern our practice, and how these assumptions must shift in order to change, and change is necessary in teaching. And there is also an understanding that there can be a resistance to an assumption change, to a shift in assumptions, and finally to change assumptions to support a better state of affairs in the classroom, improved teaching and improved learning. The reflective practitioner is therefore someone who lives reflection on a day-to-day basis. Becoming a reflective practitioner, therefore, takes a lot of time and a lot of commitment and requires discipline and an understanding of the responsibility about being a reflective practitioner. Reflective teaching involves discovering and researching, therefore, your own assumptions. And our assumptions can be explored through a number of different lenses. We can explore our assumptions through autobiographical writing, usually things like learning journals. We can also explore our assumptions through feedback from students, whether this is written or verbal. We can also explore assumptions by discussing with colleagues regularly. And, of course, we can also explore our assumptions by reviewing the literature on teaching and learning. Stephen Brookfield puts this very well. He says, teaching in a critical, reflective way involves teachers trying to discover the assumptions that frame how they teach. Teachers have 4 complementary lenses through which they can view their practice. The lens of their own autobiographies, the lens of students' eyes, the lens of colleagues' perceptions, and the lens of the educational literature. Why are these lenses important? Well, reviewing practice through these lenses helps us to admit and surface the assumptions we have about teaching, about the methods that we use, the techniques which we feel are appropriate. And in so doing, therefore, we can ensure the best for student learning.